Okay, let's go. I was originally planning on keeping this channel focused on single player games when I stopped making short TF2 videos, but who am I kidding, it's TF2. Once you start it, you don't quit it. You can sit there and say you can quit it at any time you want, but we know that hasn't happened yet. And those who have quit it have been craving it ever since they did, and have commonly found themselves coming back to it. And admit it, you are happy you came back to it. And you can't blame them for coming back, cause this is a game where you can go from being the sweatiest of tryhard player who pushes the game's mechanics and the character's abilities to the absolute limit, which, let's face it, causes a lot of people to start accusing you of cheating and then kicking you. Or you can find yourself being the silliest of players whose only goal is to turn the entire server into a friendly server so everyone can just chat and have a fun time, which is a very relaxing thing and can really help people relax after a long day at work or just escaping a stressful day in general. I mean, just look at the scene here and let me show you what all is going on in this server. But who do we have to thank for this masterpiece of a game that has stood the test of time and hardships thanks to the ever-loving fanbase? Well, that would be Valve. For those who don't know what Valve is or don't know much about them, let me explain it to you. Because if you look them up on the internet, you are most likely going to get images and websites about water valves and organ valves. Valve is a video game developer, publisher, and digital distribution company that has made its mark on the world in more ways than one. The company was founded by Gabe Newell and Mike Harrington in 1996, and just 2 years after that, they would release a game that would rock the very gaming foundation to its core and reset the standards for gaming. That game would be Half-Life. I'm going to talk about that game in another video, so I'm going to hold off on talking about it for right now. Just know that this game was made with a purpose in mind, and that purpose was achieved tenfold, and quite beautifully in fact. But let's move back to 1996. During this time, a game called Quake was released and changed the world of gaming with its fully 3D graphic capabilities. When Quake was released, mods were being made for the game to make other games, and one of those games would go on to be known as Team Fortress, a realistic FPS team-based shooter that caught the eye of Valve, who became very interested in it. Valve would go on to employ the two video game designers of the Team Fortress Quake mod and have them start working on a sequel to Team Fortress 1. But it would have some challenges while being developed. The game was originally supposed to look like a realistic modern shooter. Now, games like this can be fun, but usually don't have a lot of staying power. So Valve would go on to use a different engine partway through the development of Team Fortress 2. They switched to the Gold Source engine if you were wondering what one they switched to, and would also put employees on other projects which helped with the delaying of the game. Valve would go on to make an announcement about TF2 in the year 2000, and then go silent for about 6 years. Then in 2006, Valve would reintroduce TF2 to the public with its new look, and would go on to release the game to the public on October 10th, 2007. Now, the game at launch is completely different from how it is today. When the game was given to the public, Heavy was slower than he was now, an engineer couldn't move his buildings once they were placed down on the ground, and Pyro was considered the worst character in the game. But this is to be expected for any online multiplayer game, cause balancing a game has never been easy to do. Now, when companies do balancing for games, it's usually within a small group of people, usually playtested by the developers themselves and or with playtesters. And the problem with this is that it can never match large-scale tests, because what a small group can miss, a larger group can find. And this is what Valve needed in order to work on the problems with the game. They focused on what the players complained about and would focus on it, and then release patches in order to get better results for gameplay. Now, this has never been perfect, cause sometimes trying to fix one problem can create more problems. For example, Heavy was too slow at first, and then they tried speeding him up for better mobility, only for him to be too fast and would steamroll through other players who were not expecting him to be in certain locations at certain times. Speaking of speed, for all the OG TF2 players out there watching this, is it true that the Scout was able to outrun his hitbox when the Babyface Blaster was fully charged? Yeah, for those who don't know, this thing right here made the Scout a nightmare to face. and from what I have heard and seen in videos, it is claimed that he was able to outrun his hitbox because of it. However, for every problem that occurred, a lesson was learned and a problem was fixed as well. The equalizer was too strong for the soldier because it allowed him to have stronger attacks and higher speed, though lower his health was. So Valve split the item in two, thus making the escape plan which balanced out the soldier more. Do you prefer stronger hits at lower health, or do you prefer more speed for a quick exit at lower health? Pyro would be worked on going from the weakest and most broken class in the game to being one of the most annoying and scary in the game to face if players knew what they were doing with Pyro. Seriously, look up the videos before Pyro got his update that fixed him, and you will see how horrible of a character he was in terms of gameplay. But here's an example if you don't look it up. Sometimes the flamethrower's range would fluctuate depending on your PC performance and server performance. So when it came to balancing, it was both nightmarish and a gift at times. But along with balancing the game, something else would come along and make a massive change to the series that wasn't expected. Now, not long after the game's release, cosmetics would be introduced into the game, and not only were they just for looks, Valve would release them in sets that offered in-game stats. But this would quickly be hated by the fanbase, and for good reason. It was pay to win. Wanted a quieter spy? Then you would buy the spy set for that. Wanted a sniper who could tank headshots without dying? Then pay for the set needed for that. You get the idea. Valve would remove these stat effects and just make cosmetics instead, which was the better choice financially in the long run, because as time went on, Valve would also release war paints and unique visual effects for different items. And this would allow people to make unique items that other people will want to have. And when someone wants something, they are willing to pay for it to have it, or steal it, or copy it, or make a fake, or... So Valve would implement a sales and trade economy within TF2 that would allow people to buy and trade with each other in order to get the items they wanted and make money off them as well, or make more keys. If you don't believe me, check out their community market and look at these prices. From this, which costs 10 cents, to this, which cost... And guess what? There are websites that have lower prices and even higher prices as well for these items. Well, how do they get items that are so expensive, which is what some of you are wondering? Well, sadly, it is through events that were discontinued or items that are no longer made, thus increasing its rarity, or loot boxes. Yeah, you have to get a crate and then you have to get a key and then you see what you got. Just a heads up, chances for rare items are low, and there are videos that go into the numbers of this far better than I can, and you can check them out whenever you can. But if you get something rare, you can sometimes combine them with more things to make them even more rare and unique, thus increasing its price. And another thing that affects the prices of the items is the community. Now, if you remember from earlier in the video that I had stated that the game was released on October 10th, 2007. So at that time of making this video, the game is about to be over 15 years old. And that is an age that most online shooters do not even get to reach. But how has this game managed to stay alive for so long? Which is what some of you are wondering. Well, you saw the title for this part of the video. It's the loyal community, which is massive and has a lot of love for the game. People will cosplay as their favorite characters, practice voice acting to sound like their favorite character, and most recently, a lot of them would join the movement Save TF2, which is where gamers and YouTubers would join together in a protest to help save TF2 from the terrible bot problem that was going on at the time. Being able to headshot anyone from any distance, no matter how small the opening was, so long as they had a line of sight on them. They are also able to vote kick players and trick people into kicking the wrong person by stealing their name. Yeah, that one sucked a lot. I also learned while doing research for this video that at one point, bots would give web addresses to websites that would allow you to purchase something that would make you immune from being shot by the bots. Which really didn't help because no one wanted to play on a server full of bots. I actually stopped playing the game for months because of this. It was so bad I couldn't even play the game. Then I heard about Save TF2 and jumped back on it. Valve heard everyone's pleas to save TF2 from the bots, and Valve actually did something about it. They managed to greatly fix the problem for a while, though the bots still linger here and there, but just not as much as they used to. And not only has the community helped save TF2, they also play a part in making content, maps, and cosmetics along with war paints and weapons. So if someone makes a cosmetic on their own, they can submit it to Valve through Steam Workshop, and Valve will decide if they will allow it to be in the game. The community has made servers to help train new players, servers to play on without bots, and servers for trading and selling. This has allowed new players to get used to TF2's mechanics, economy, and help players find their own playstyle as well, which is something that is hard to do in a game where everybody's trying to take you out. A large amount of the TF2 community is pretty friendly as well, and the community is not as toxic as many other gaming communities tend to be nowadays. For example, you can jump straight into a casual game and not have to worry about being kicked for having fun and being as stupid as possible. This is because casual in TF2 means casual. If you want to be serious and sweaty, you can do the competitive game mode. But look at this loadout here and tell me that I look competitive in the slightest. I have a shotgun that I use for an extra jump. I have milk. I have a fish wrapped in Christmas lights. Though surprisingly, this loadout is pretty useful in all honesty. But I think we need to get into one of the things that have caused gamers to have such love for the game. There is a good amount of things that people love about this game, but I'm just going to stick to the main part. Now, Valve really nailed it when making these characters and choosing the voice actors for them. None of them look alike and none of them sound alike. You can look into a room of them and tell who is who without a problem, and you can listen to them and know exactly who they are. Let's provide some example for you. Soldier is an American-loving man who will fight to the death for his country, but is also pretty dumb. He is a self-proclaimed soldier because he was rejected from every branch of the military. He didn't let that stop him from fighting in World War II though, and left to Germany to fight the enemy. Unfortunately, he thought all Germans were the enemy though. He made medals for himself, so at least he's self-rewarding. That's good for one's mental health. Scout is a fast little Boston boy with a big mouth and a big personality to match, and will not waste time letting you know that. And he is someone who can back up his words in a fight, so don't underestimate him. And bloody hell, I have done that plenty of times and regretted it. Then you have Dimmelman, who is a one-eyed Scottish cyclops, who has a fascination with explosives and alcohol. I'm surprised he's managed to live so long, to be honest with that combination. He managed to have his eye stolen from him in his youth, and now his eye socket is haunted, thanks to a wizard. You will also fight his eye during Halloween events. Trust me, this game gets wild with its stories. Now, I won't get into all the characters because I'm going to give each one of them their own videos, because that's really going to be the best way to introduce them properly to you. Also gives me more experience with making videos. But if this is your first time hearing about the game, you have to admit, with what little I have given you about them, they do spark your interest, or at least the lore does. But if that hasn't done it for you, well, just know that in the lore there are robots that are literally fueled by money. Also, Scout has a bird living inside his chest. Good luck letting your curiosity ignore how all that happened. If you are curious about the characters, you can check them out in their Meet the Team videos. They are short videos that manage to give you a strong idea of who these characters are and what they are like personality-wise. They do give you an idea of what their gameplay style is like, but do take some misleading liberties with them. For example, Engineer can't place multiple sentries down at once unless it is in the man versus machine game mode, but even then it is just a little sentry that gets destroyed quickly. But he can place only one sentry down at a time in other game modes. The Spy can't throw or slide his zapper at Engineer's buildings, and as an Engie main, I just have to say thank bloody Christ for that. Also, he can't one-shot headshot a fully healed class even with the Almighty Ambassador, which is made for headshots, but my aiming skills are not. And any shots you see me making with it are just pure luck. And Pyro? Well, believe it or not, I don't think they really took any liberties with Pyro in the video, because everyone runs from Pyro, Pyro uses an axe, Pyro uses the flare gun, and oh, you can see the game similar to how Pyro sees the world once you get the Pyro goggles. But you know what really makes these characters so great? It is the impact they have made on so many people in the gaming community, the YouTube community, and 3D animation community. People have gotten into using SFM to make their own videos for entertainment of others and for jobs as well. People have greatly fallen in love with the lore and introduced their own ideas for weapons, paint jobs, and maps for the game. And for me personally, it was the connection to these characters that kept me in the game for so long. And I didn't realize that I was so connected to these characters until one fateful day came around. One day while playing the game, I was playing Payload, and while waiting for the match to start, I noticed that the people were gathering around a statue of Soldier, and I was confused at first. I think I had been playing the game for just a few months at this point. Then I noticed that some YouTube videos had been made for the Soldier, and that's when I learned that the voice actor for Soldier, Rick May, had passed away on April 8th, 2020. I didn't even know who this guy was, but I felt so sad and torn on the inside after learning about it. And that's because Valve, along with its amazing cast of writers, animators, developers, and voice actors, managed to make me feel love for the characters in the game. And this made me have a terrible thought for TF2. And that thought was, one day will be the last day that me, and along with all the other players, will be the last day that any of us will play TF2. And it is going to be a painful day for us. We are going to lose something that we love so much, no matter how hard we fight for it to stay alive. And that's the sad reality of the world. But you know what? We still have time before that day comes. So I say all that we can do now is we keep showing our love for the game in any way possible, because it has done so much for so many people. It has brought joy to so many people through its gameplay and stories. It has encouraged people to try animation. Hell, I downloaded SFM in order to learn to make thumbnails for this video, and depending on how things go, I would like to try to use it for animations. So if you haven't played the game, then download it off Steam. It's free. And for all the OGs out there, show the new players how to take out a heavy with a fish, how to rocket jump into a clumsy death while trying to make the game save him play, train them to spot the bots when boat kicking, and most importantly, help them get that dopamine rush, cause we all deserve it. And that's all I have to say about the game for now. I hope you have a good day.